Welcome to Off the Post, powered by Lights On Electric and Cover All Exteriors. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Anthony Mingione. And how are you?
Doing all right, Russell. How are you today?
A little tired, doing okay. And Michael Jello, how are you?
I'm very tired, and I will not go into the reasons why.
Okay, I mean, we weren't going to ask you.
Keep your secrets.
Yeah, I mean, if it's because you ate too much or cooked too much for Thanksgiving, I get it.
No, I was volunteering last night at an event in Buffalo, and it lasted until 2:30 in the morning. So there you go.
Oh, so you're at a speakeasy.
Isn't that was longer than? Well, what time did you get home? So, Russ, what time did you get home from our road trip to Newark? So you got home one. Yeah. So
I got you beat by an hour and a half.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So you're a big shot. All right. So we're gonna start off with Tampa Rangers. Anthony and I were listening to that game driving up.
Yeah.
And again, it strikes me how Tampa is just able to fill in what they need, play without players. So, for teams that want to say, "Hey, boo-hoo, we have all these players hurt," just look at Tampa. They have their top three defensemen hurt, and it doesn't matter. They keep winning. They win because they fill in players. They find undrafted players. They get players in trades like Brandon Hagel. They draft players. Even in mid to late rounds, they find guys and they fill in. And it looks like they're still out there looking as we speak to fill out the roster. And that makes them competitive. And it's amazing what they've actually done right now.
Yeah, I mean, you start off obviously, Vasilevsky looks like he's got him after a rough start of the season. Looks like he's got himself back to normal.
Yeah.
Beyond that, you had, obviously you had the usual suspects. Obviously, Kucherov is off to a really great start. And again, I think it's just kind of having Cooper there, and again, trust in the system. It looks like again they're able to fill in with players from Syracuse, with a lot of the players out of their lineup, and they're still able to pretty much handle the Rangers yesterday.
Yeah.
Again, Tampa's, until otherwise noted, Tampa's one of those teams that you can look at and basically, in some ways, they're another team that benefits from having a lot of wing, not unlike the Flyers, in that they benefit from having a lot of wing depth, and their center depth obviously is better, but it's not that different, and it's kind of a way to show other teams that there are ways to do this to win, and not necessarily always through the traditional methods.
Yeah, as long as you have a winger like Kucherov, yeah, sure.
Of course, you got to have somebody who's an absolute bellwether of a winger, in that case, like he is.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like you said, their top three defensemen are out. I had to look up on Hockey DB who the hell Charles Edward Daustis was.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy's got 8 points.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, undrafted, played 4 years for Rimouski, ECHL, AHL, then 2 years in Finland, then plays for Brian in the SHL. They signed him as a free agent. He plays 4 games in Syracuse, and they drop him right in the NHL. No, he's like, no problem. Like, Jesus.
I mean, Mike, they've got Steven Santini in there, and I kind of remember him as 2016 draft pick, something like that.
Yeah, Devils, New Jersey Devils. I remember. I always called him the Great Santini after the Robert Duvall movie.
Yeah, my thing with him was I remember him saying that his father owned a construction company. He did a lot of concrete work. And I was thinking, man, this guy's got to be strong and he's going to be a defensive defenseman. And it took him a long time to, get to the NHL.
It takes longer for some guys. But again, it's also, I think Russ goes to marks of, we talked last night about how Tampa, obviously are able to find guys through their scouting system. They're also able, again, we always people just forget that extra step between draft and actually playing is the developmental part. And Tampa, I think, does a really good job of getting their guys ready to go if they do have injuries, and even after years of dealing off picks. Again, if you've got trust in your scouting staff and you got trust in your coaches to develop these players to have them ready to go, it just speaks volumes to this.
And we don't hear about John Cooper's system being so difficult that new players can't learn it either. And I think that's something where that's a credit to John Cooper.
Yeah, and this is how bad their injuries are up front. Zemgus Girgensons played almost 18 minutes yesterday.
Yeah. It's just, again, it's the Tim, and they're keeping it simple. I mean, we saw, just watching it from the Flyers, coverage perspective, watching them against Tampa, and watching how Tampa was able to pretty much dismantle. The Flyers have shifted to a 2-1-2, and Tampa knew exactly what to do in order to stifle it. They really, they played, I think I said to Russ, it was like a perfect road game at home.
Right.
It was basically how they played that. They were like, we know they like to do counter rushes. We're going to stop that. And I think that's really the bedrock of where they're at right now, Tampa, is the fact that the focus is on team defense right
now. And they're going to try and improve too. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see where they're at. Flyers won a good game against the Devils yesterday.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one because they jumped out to this 4-1 lead, and the Flyers do let goals back in like they do. They just and catch up on them.
Yeah.
But yesterday they did a good job of closing it out. And so it's a nice road trip for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not fully sold yet, but what I will say is they're at least doing what Tocchet wants them to do as a team, and that's helping.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, they're learning how to play with leads. I mean, obviously the Islanders game on Black Friday, it's been a while for the Flyers getting out to a lead. I mean, they've been falling behind in games, almost on a consistent basis. So it's kind of refreshing to see them getting out to leads here. And they did again, obviously, last night. They got out to the 1-0 lead against New Jersey before Jersey was able to tie it up. But then, it was a really strong and the thing was, that first period, you would look at it, and then you looked at the possession numbers, and they were very much tilted in New Jersey's favor in that first period. But before that New Jersey got their first goal, they literally had one real danger chance on 10 shot attempts. I mean, Philly has gotten really good at really doing a good job of using the box plus one system, and they're willing to give you the perimeter, but they're not allowing. The key thing is not allowing guys to get into the house.
Yeah,
and that's really kind of what's helped them. But getting back to it was a strong coming off of what could have been a potentially disastrous thing after Michkov got hit with a penalty late in the first period. Yeah. And then he comes right out of the box in the second period at the end of it, and he goes and scores. And if you're Jersey, you basically have a momentum swing go back the other way against you, and then things just kind of snowballed a little bit after that.
I think that goal is why New Jersey's iffy on Markstrom. Not that it wasn't a good play by Michkov, but that goal, he kind of just bulled Markstrom, and it kind of trickled.
He was also from behind. He kind of, with the defenseman kind of the defenseman, I think, helped a little bit in that regard because he caught up to Michkov a little bit, and Michkov's going to barrel in like a bowling ball anyway.
But the goalie's got to know that's happening, and I think he could have covered it. I think this is Markstrom made some good saves late, but he wasn't sharp in that game.
I would say it was not necessarily one of his better games. And it's been interesting because the Flyers have faced both Jersey goaltenders and have kind of made them not look rather ordinary in both of those games.
And it's weird because
Dan Vladar looked great though. That was maybe his best game.
Yes,
and it's weird because I saw the Devils the previous night in Buffalo, and the talk about the box score sort of being deceiving. And I know like the post game, we had a lot of chances. Buffalo had 42 shots on Jake Allen. If he made 4 really difficult saves, it was a lot. I didn't think that Buffalo had any major, unbelievable, he wasn't standing on his head and doing his best Terry Sawchuk imitation. And it was a typical, New Jersey got up 1-0 and the balloon was emptied, and then there was just a rolling on from there. I mean, what I'm sort of impressed is that the Devils were as good as they were without Jack Hughes. With Heischer and Bratt and a couple other people kicking in.
I think Mercer also is a bit of it. He's starting to, because he's been a wing, and the fact that they've had to push him in at center. The first game he had against Philadelphia, I thought he had a lot. He struggled. Yeah, in this one, I thought in this game he was actually better than he was in the game in Philly. But he's enough of a danger there where I think offensively they can kind of aggregate a little bit of the loss of Hughes. But, I mean, obviously there's no way. I mean, what makes Jersey especially dangerous is when you have, obviously, Hughes out there. So,
I mean, they can score, but they do have trouble.
They're figuring it out, though. They've gotten better with it. I mean, I think it's a tap. That's a stick tap certainly to Sheldon Keefe, and basically telling the guys you're sometimes not going to have jack out there, and you need to be able to not just wait for the cavalry to come. You have to be your own cavalry.
Yeah,
and now their defense is loose though.
And yes, and now playing the role of Ilya Mikheyev is Arseny Gritchuk, because he's sort of like stayed over in Russia after being a 5th-round pick of the Devils for 5 or 6 years, and then comes over, and he's in their top 6 right now. I don't know if he's in their top 6 when Hughes is there, but he wasn't out of place. So, and he scored a key goal against Buffalo. So I mean, I don't think the Devils are a team that is without chinks in the armor, but I do think that in a very tight Eastern Conference, which we're going to talk more about when we talk about Toronto and Buffalo, they're slightly ahead, and that's all you need to be in first place in a division.
Although it's getting particularly tight there at the top. I mean, in the Metro, you've got Carolina just ahead, Jersey, and then the Flyers are there too.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think that 3rd spot and the 2 wild cards are up for grabs this year. I think there'll be a lot of jostling around. I think those first 2 spots will be more solidified in a couple weeks, but I think that 3rd spot and those 2 wild cards.
And Mike, there's a good comment by Vince in the chat there that obviously a very good point with regards to New Jersey's defense.
Yeah, but Pesci is not going to be back for a while.
Yeah, but getting Kovacevic, I think getting Kovacevic back, I think will help them.
Yeah,
you need that sort of defensive stabilizer, because we saw we saw the good and the bad with Simon Nemec last night.
Yeah,
classic. Just he's got that howitzer shot, that tied the game. But prior to that, the first goal by Tippett basically is due to the fact that Nemec was caught in between and tried to come out, and it was a mistake, and that allowed Tippett to knife in to get that rebound to get Philly the 1-0 lead.
Yeah, he's distracted. He's too busy searching out condo properties in Vancouver for when he's the trade part. The trade.
Yeah, we all. It's true. It is going to happen, but
unless of course hey, Quinn could always go to.
Oh, you muted yourself.
But people from New Jersey in the know think that the Hughes deal will happen in the summer. That's what they think. I still think there's a chance it happens. At the deadline.
It depends on again. My whole thing is, and I had this conversation as well with the Devils reporter, and saying that the question is going to be whether or not teams they'll look at it. When the problem with the trade deadline is it always heightens. It heightens things, and you're trying to squeeze that little extra out that you probably wouldn't get in the off season when there's not as much pressure to do, which makes me kind of think that is accurate, that Vancouver will probably ride it this off season. Will ride to the off season with Hughes, and then
but
will be the off season.
The return will be a significantly less, because it's like,
right.
With New Jersey, it's getting the 8 years or getting the long-term deal with Hughes and being able to negotiate it on July 1. With the other teams, if they decide, well, we're not getting what we want out of New Jersey, so we'll trade him to Colorado or Dallas or something, because he has no trade protection.
Or Philadelphia.
I don't think so. I mean,
that would be hysterical. That would be really funny if that happened.
Yeah.
But
I don't think any of those teams, and Mike, Vancouver was scouting the Devils game for the first time this year.
Okay.
And this is like coming off of the heels of everybody's available talk. So I think there's.
I'm sure many of that being said, I wouldn't be too surprised if they've got scouts deployed far and wide, and I wouldn't be shocked if we get to Monday's game in Philadelphia and we see a Vancouver scout in Philadelphia too.
Wouldn't shock me. But I also would say, Mike, that I saw there was Darren Dreger was on a show and somebody transcribed it, and he was talking about Alex Tuck, and he said, I'm sure the Sabres would have liked to have it locked up by now, but I think it looks bad that they don't. So I think my feeling is he's gone, because otherwise he was amenable to it if they paid the right money, and it seems like they don't want to pay the money.
Well, I think it's a dual problem. One, they don't want to pay the money. Two, does he want to waste his career on a team that doesn't know what the hell they're doing? In terms of, and that's the thing. He's turning 30 in the off season. He's been in Buffalo since the trade for Eichel. I think it was 2021, and they haven't made the playoffs since. And they came within 1 point a few years ago. And right now, I think at times Lindy has sort of tried to sort of point them in the right direction, but you have to give up on the young team excuse, but they are one of the youngest teams in the league. And if you put them side by side with a team like Toronto, who, are both at the bottom of that division. I was asked on the Hockey News podcast, what team do you have more confidence in climbing back into the playoff race? I'm like, I don't know. The one that maybe won the division last year compared to the one that hasn't made the playoffs in 14 years.
Yeah, I would be the same boat there.
Yeah, it's like
I think it makes for fun talk or conversation to that, but it's a pretty obvious answer.
Right, but the thing is, do I think that the Sabres want to make Alex Tuch a higher paid player than Tage Thompson, a higher paid player than Owen Power, a higher paid player than, well, the only one he would be less higher paid than would be Dahlin, and Dahlin's making $11 million. You could probably, from the point of view of ownership, it says, well, we finished in last place with you, so we can finish in last place without you. But you have to keep talent or make it more attractive for talent to come to Buffalo. And right now it's like they're scouring the league for players that don't have no trade protection that they can trade to, because they can't get the ones to waive their no trade or no move to come to Buffalo. That's just the reality now.
It is just a nasty, and I keep saying this with Buffalo, it's just a nasty cycle that they're stuck in. It just is how, when you've been out for that long, you're just not going to be a team. Winning is obviously, what's the old phrase? Winning is the best deodorant, right?
It is.
They haven't done it enough. And, we can talk about the teams below the Mason-Dixon line and all the lifestyle and everything else, but the Sabres figured out a way to win. They get guys that I think they would be able to generate players.
But here's an indictment on the organization, and it wasn't so far ago when they missed the playoffs by a point, and they were one of the highest scoring teams in the league. That summer, all you heard in terms of free agent circles were, lots of people want to come to Buffalo because they're playing high-paced offense and everything was exciting. Yeah, and then what did they do in free agency that year? They signed Eric Johnson and they signed Connor Clifton, and they brought back the same group of players, the same exact group, which included Oposo and Gergensons and Tyson Jost. And what happened? Then they said, well, we have to play better defensively because we gave up 300 goals against. And what happened? Well, they gave up 50 goals less, and they scored 50 goals less, and they finished further out of the playoffs. So they don't know what the hell they're doing. And I think, I think,
or they leaned away from an idea. I guess what it might be, Mike, is that they may have put the cart before the horse, in that they were preparing to have themselves have playoff players or like heavier players, but you have to actually make it first. Right, so it's better for you to make the playoffs and find that out and then go get those guys.
Right.
So you needed to lean a little more into that identity that offseason to see if it was going to be able to push you in. And if it didn't, then you make that call.
And the other thing is that they repeat the same mistakes over and over, Russ. And what I'm pointing at is the three-headed goalie monster.
Right.
Because they did this a few years ago with they bring in Levi, they had Eric Comrie, and they had Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who at the beginning of that season, of the 23-24 season, appeared to be number 3 on the depth chart. And then by the middle of the season, they send Levi down to Rochester. Comrie had been off injured, and Luukkonen was the number 1. And they give Luukkonen the big long-term contract. Levi is sequestered down in Rochester. Now they sign Alex Lyon, which was signaled to Levi that, you're going to be in Rochester the entire year. And then they sign Georgiev because they don't know about whether Luukkonen's healthy or not. Now Georgiev's gone to the KHL, but they pick up Colton Ellis, who's about the same age, a year older, or a year or so older than Devin Levi. They pick him up, and they're holding him as the third goalie on the roster. And now if you look at who's played best of the three goalies, Colton Ellis has played the best of them.
I'm confident in saying they're the worst team in the NHL on handling and developing goalies. They've proven it. It's part of the reason they're in this slump that they've been in, a 15-year slump, like in New York Jets. And so, like Mike, that's the bedrock.
And the Nashville Predators are bad at just everything else, right?
Oh, the Nashville Predators. I mean,
that's a whole other show, right?
If you are a Sharks fan, you should love Barry Trotz, because Barry Trotz sent you Askarov for no good reason other than he turned over the net and he didn't like that. And that is going to propel the Sharks. It already has started to, besides Celebrini and Smith and all the other things.
Yeah. I mean, not that UC Saros is a bad goalie, because he's not. I mean, the team in front
he's
of him.
He's not a great goalie. He's
not a great. I know.
He's a pretty good goal. You can win with Saros if you have a better lineup in front of him, basically.
The Edmonton Oilers
came in, didn't help.
The Edmonton Oilers would kill to have UC Saros right now.
Who would?
The Edmonton
Oilers. No, I concur with Mike on that.
In fact, it's probably true.
In fact, I think the Edmonton Oilers would kill to have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen right now. And
I would say no for that.
I don't know. That one's a 50-50 on that. I won't say it's a bridge too far, but it's definitely a coin flip. You're hoping that lands heads.
I mean, so for a bigger discussion right now, if I was going to vote who the Hart Trophy winner would be, it would be Nathan McKinnon once again. He's at 9 points ahead of Connor McDavid. Remember him? He's 9 points ahead of him. He's got 44 points.
Don't know.
I mean, it's funny because with McDavid, at times McKinnon can be overshadowed. But I got to tell you, again, I watched him as a young man in the queue, and I saw a drive in this guy that makes him want to be the best, even though McDavid is the best. But you're seeing McKinnon trying to show people, hey, don't forget about me. And
I mean,
that team is on fire.
They're on fire. And again, really, you and I were looking through their lineup. Great depth. Their fourth line is a skill. It's a nice balance. It's a skilled fourth line
with guys you can't pronounce.
Yeah, well, I think you're fine with Ivan. Ivan's
the only one you could really pronounce. It gets harder.
Ivan, I should say. Yes, my wife would get that wrong there. Vanya. But you look at the rest of it, it's just really just strong throughout defensively. I mean, Brent Burns, we all thought he was basically cooked and left for dead, and he's been a solid support defenseman for them, basically on the fourth pair, just keeping it simple. But the rest of it, Devin Taves.
I mean, he looks like Sasquatch, so I mean, he's fitting right in.
Actually, go figure. Maybe it's just, having that, I miss I miss the old Bigfoot logo on that jersey. I really do.
Me too.
So where's the abominable snowman when you need him?
It was the best. Yeah. Well, now I get the mammoth, so it's kind of like almost like they can't do it now. But
the mammoth. That's it.
But listen, the goaltending. Yeah. Scott Wedgwood, who we were talking about for a good 10 minutes in the car, Russ, on the ride up to Jersey, and we're just saying to ourselves, speaking of Jersey, because that's where he spent his time.
He's a factor.
He is absolutely a factor, and his play has gotten him into the conversation for Team Canada, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a big deal. They always needed to get their goaltending solidified to kind of get back in, being an elite team.
And it's solid because then you have also Blackwood too. It's kind of funny how many that's two former Jersey goaltenders, that are in Colorado. And
they don't have Corey Crawford, so we'll say that.
No, they don't have Crawford, but
although New Jersey didn't have him long either.
No, that is true. Absolutely true.
Do they have Jim McKenzie?
Oh. Chris Torre.
Gotcha.
So for the food portion of the show,
we got to touch on
get to the other team, but I wanted to
usually the food portion.
Must get to the other team.
Mixing it up, Mike. Don't worry. For the food portion of the show, it was interesting because when something iffy happened at the Devils game, they popped up with SpaghettiOs, and that brought me back to like when I was a 6-year-old. Actually,
I haven't heard Russ laugh as hard in a press
I really
box as
laughed.
he did sitting next to me last night when the SpaghettiOs thing came.
And I'm waiting for Mike to lie and say he never ate SpaghettiOs. So Mike,
I never ate SpaghettiOs.
Oh my God, get out of here!
Russ,
I'm not gonna lie, Russ, he's not the only one.
Russ,
I never had SpaghettiOs. No.
That's a cardinal sin in an Italian family.
You might as well be taking the family out to. You might as well be taking your Italian family out to dinner to Olive Garden.
Yeah,
it's not that. It's like if
you're
going there for more than just the breadsticks.
Yeah, if you had 2 working parents, sometimes SpaghettiOs was a lunch.
Yeah, please, can SpaghettiOs or ragu or anything. No,
You never had Chef Boyardee once?
No, never once.
Here's the thing, though. We did sell it in the store. It wasn't a can. Some people liked it, but if you've got choices of other, and you're a My Dad's store, and you've got shelves of pasta of all different types. You're not getting SpaghettiOs.
It was just an Italian guy getting ahead in the U.S. Like Chef Boyardee was Italian.
No, he wasn't. It's just
No, he was a real guy. I watched the whole.
Hold on. Was Chef Boyardee a real person? Oh, here it is. It came right up. Hold on. Let's see. He was a real person. His name was Ettore Boiardi, later Hector Boiardi, an Italian immigrant who became a renowned chef before founding the popular food brand. He actually emigrated to the U.S. around the same time as my great-grandfather did, 1914.
It shows what Mike knows.
Worked at high-end restaurants like the Plaza Hotel.
Some history major.
He opened his own restaurant in Cleveland, Ohio. He later changed his name to Boyardee to make it easier for Americans to pronounce his name, and founded the company would be synonymous with his name.
I don't track history of shit food, so anyway.
Oh.
Well, he had to learn how to mass produce it. So he was, like I said, he was kind of home Olive Garden before Olive Garden.
He was. All right, Mike. So the Leafs won the Kyle Dubas Bowl. So let's talk about that game.
Oh, here's the thing. Before you say this, Mike, Russ was teeing this thing the bleep up in the press box. He was, if you want to talk about a guy who he literally had, I think he was ready to break out the black and gold pom-poms today for the start of the show, and then the Leafs went and ruined it.
Yeah, the Leafs ruined the whole narrative.
To do a Steve Dangle, my homage to Steve Dangle, because every time they go, Leafs win. It was less about Kyle Dubas and more about the desperation of where Toronto is right now. Mm-hmm. But okay, you look at and somebody in the chat was like, the Flyers in the playoffs at Thanksgiving, and I've always been somebody who
actually they weren't. They were out of the playoffs on Thanksgiving. That's the funny thing.
That's how tight that's how tight things are. I mean, literally now.
Right. And that's my point. But here's like normally I adhere to that. And you would think that more likely I would adhere to that in an Olympic year where the schedule is more tightly compacted and we're at the 25 game mark, whereas last year I think it was at 21 or 22. Yeah. But you look at it and the Leafs, as head up their rectum as they have played this year, they're 4 points out of third place in the Atlantic. They're 4 points out of the second wild card behind Pittsburgh.
And the fact that we're going to get one of the things I want to kind of point out here is Russ and I, we're both looking at this, and the amount of overtime games that have been played this season has been astronomical. And that's, I think, one of the biggest reasons why the points
have played overtime all the time. Like,
it's just been, we talked, Phillies played like this, the 10th, 11th. And I'm looking at other teams, and they're not even at the top. They're like 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
Got other teams that are playing in overtime. So
5th of the games go to overtime.
In the Western Conference through 24, 25, 26 games, wherever we are right now, you've got 4 teams, St. Louis, Vancouver, Calgary, Nashville, who are all under 500. In the East, the only one that's under 500 is the Buffalo Sabres. So, right now, Toronto has played terribly on this. They started the 6-game road trip in Montreal with their head up their rear end, played an absolutely terrible game, even though like Joseph Wall was fantastic. And that's been the through line here. You know, I'd like to send a message to Brad Terliving and to Craig Berube, or ask him a question. What the hell were you thinking about with Caden Primo? Because Dennis Hildeby has played pretty damn well.
I told you what I thought the reason was with Caden Primo.
Well, right, and I have to say, Russ, that you probably were right on that one, because it didn't make
sense otherwise.
Well, okay, the only thing I could think of was that they thought, okay, Anthony Stolarz will be able to get through, and we can play the second. We can let Hildeby play in the minors, and we can have Caden Primo play the seconds of back-to-back. That meant that Anthony Stolarz would have to play 9 games in October, and he's out, and they don't know when he's coming back.
Yeah, Anthony Stolarz might as well be in the injured Hall of Fame with Paul George.
It's like, now from my point of view, this is a good thing for one simple reason. I've said for 2 years, this team needs to find out whether Joseph Woll can be a number one. And based on the way he's played over the last week and a half or 2 weeks, he sure as hell can be, because there was no way they should have even been in that game against Columbus. And he made 36 saves and they won. And he almost single-handedly, they were up 2-0. And sat back on a lead in Washington and let Washington climb back in. He was fantastic. He's been good or great in every game and has given them a chance to win, whereas Anthony Stolarz was crap every other game. And the reason is because he played too much. He's not a starter. He's a 1B. He's a good 1B, but he can't play. He cannot play every other day in the playoffs, and you can't have to manage around some guys got wonky knees in the playoffs.
I'm surprised Anthony didn't even flinch when I mentioned Paul George. That's how down he is on the Sixers.
I mean, that's how do I put this? The part is that the 2 winter sports teams of right now, we're at the point right now where the Eagles are in a tailspin. Right. Suddenly the Flyers are looking like the team in the town that actually has a direction.
Right. I have to say, I have not watched 1 minute of the NBA this year.
So have a lot of people.
1 minute.
A lot of people. You're not the only one. I mean, come on. The NBA is it's gotten. Listen. Interest in that game has gotten so bad that they had to manufacture this in-season tournament.
What is it? I don't understand what it is.
Basically, and this is what it is. I know this is off the post. This is now going to become off the rim. All right?
Yeah.
Let's continue. So, basically, they're above the rim. Hey, we'll do that, but the way we're doing it's going to be off the rim because we're going to brick this shot. It's their attempt. It's the NBA's attempt. They looked over in Europe and see that, during a long soccer season, but this has been built in for many years that they have these traditional cups that usually, but the thing is with a lot of these traditional national cups is it involves every single level of soccer from the top level, whatever the Premier League is, to level 4. And what's fun about that is the possibility of David beating Goliath and getting deeper than expected. That is the allure of those tournaments. The NBA is trying to create a version of this to keep, teams that don't have a shot, maybe, they win something in season, but it doesn't have any of their tradition. It's an attempt to do it.
But they paint the floors nice. The floors are all bright.
The floors are ridiculous. The players don't like it. The players have already talked about the fact that the logos, I remember Luka Doncic, the LA Lakers literally basically said they're going to play on their regular court because that logo at the middle of the court for the thing is literally slippery. Guys are slipping and falling on the court because there's too much probably goddamn.
Brock Lesnar on the stage the other night? Brock Lesnar when he did his.
I mean, it's like if you imagine the NHL. I mean, I'm just imagining though the NHL. Like it's one thing, but again. It looks like something out of NBA 2K, like these courts. It's like, when you play multiplayer in those games and they come up with these crazy glossy courts and somebody in the NBA said, hey, let's do that. Now you're watching a game. You're like, where is everything? Like, it's such a ridiculous, NHL. I mean, even if you get a remote idea of trying to do something like this, whatever you do,
blue ice. People are having more.
No, yeah, we're gonna make it all like NHL '94 ice, right? You're gonna make it blue ice. It's gonna be
ice.
Yeah.
Okay, Larry Quinn.
Well, when they have an expansion team from Boise, they'll have blue eyes.
People are having more epileptic seizures than watching a Wang Chung video. And by the way, Russ, we'll call this show Basketball Buzz. Oh, sorry.
I will say this last thing. So the Mike Matheson contract, 5 years, $30 million. He's got a little bit of offense. He plays a little bit of defense. The prices for a defenseman are ridiculous.
Welcome to the rising cap world. If you've got a little bit of offense to your game and can play your own end, that's probably going to be the baseline in a couple of years.
I'm a little bit of country.
We'll go back and look. If he's doing decently, you're going to look at that contract and say, "Hey, that was a smart move by Montreal to get him locked up."
He's an older guy, and he's been in the league a while, and he's got 15 points. He's got some offense. He was plus 12, and
here's where Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes, I think, have made a major malfunction here. Okay, their top 3 paid defensemen are all offensive defensemen. They're all, Noah Dobson is not a great defensive defenseman. Lane Hudson, we know his defense is his offense, his puck possession. And now Mike Matheson is pretty much, he's more experienced, but he's pretty much the same type. To win, you need guys who are complements to those.
Well, that's where David Reinbacher is supposed to come in if he could stay healthy and
it's
develop.
at the end of the day, Mike. It's you have to develop your own. It's a unit when you're the kind of defenseman you're looking for. Your bellwether, two-way number one Hedman or whoever types that you come up with. Those are guys you got to find and develop on your own. You're not going. It's tough. The cost is we all talked about the cost is going to be prohibitive.
I mean,
and if you have an offensive bend to your game, it's going. Even if you're decent defensively, you're going to get paid.
I mean, are they
David Reinbacher, just so you know, guys, has played 31 games in 3 seasons in Laval.
Yeah. I mean, are they going to get that kind of sort of two-way out of Arbor Jackeye, out of Jaden Struble?
Arbor Jackeye is going to just, punch guys in the face and play a little defense physically.
It's between that and a number one center. Those are your NHL unicorns at the end of the day.
Well, okay, on a Stanley Cup contender, Nick Suzuki is a great number 2. He's a good number 1. I know he's sainted in Montreal. He's a good number 1, and he's playing with Caulfield. They don't have a number 2. That's why all the talk of Nazem Kadri, and I'm praying.
I think Suzuki would be enhanced and could be a number 1. Like you said, Mike, if you had that number 2 to take some of the heat, because offensive, he has the tools to be a number 1, but from a matchup perspective, other teams are like, shut down Suzuki, and the other lines aren't going to be as much of a concern.
And he's so good defensively that he'd be better suited as a number 2 to match up against the other team's number 1. Whereas, you want your offense, you want your top center to be like a McKinnon and to be like a McDavid.
But how difficult is it to get?
Right, there's 5 of those guys in the league.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I think the mistake.
So that's why you need to have a good. That's why I'm telling you, teams can make it, can win a cup if you've got 2 good centers who have offensive game. You have good offense to their game. It's tough to get any of those bellwether number 1s. It just
Matt in the chat makes a good point. I forgot Caden Gooley, who I think is a good defenseman.
He is good, but he gets hurt all the time now too.
The problem is that they got guys that could be there, but if they're not available, this is where you're stuck.
And Demidov is not a center, Russ. Demidov is not a center.
No, I said that. No, I said no. Here's the bigger thing. So last year at the draft, they took Alexander Swarovski with the 34th overall pick and basically handed Milton Gastrin to who? The Washington Capitals, who seem to clean up on other teams' mistakes at the draft. Milton Gastrin has 14 points in 20 games in the SHL, and he could be a number 2 center in the NHL in the future, and they passed on that guy.
Yeah.
He's right there for the tape.
That's the thing to consider. I mean, in many ways, I kind of paired up thinking about, when I look at Gastrin and I'm looking at Berglund on Philly.
Right.
Because Berglund's kind of trended a bit in that direction.
Right.
But again, if you're in the process of trying to find yourself that absolute bellwether number 1.
Gastrin's a little bit better scorer, though. He is.
No, I think so too. I think Berglund's going to be more of a, almost like a Swedish version of like if you're looking at like a Couturier or somebody like that, maybe a little less than that, but something along those lines that you're
I'm saying this is where
the
Montreal
defense is
passed
what's
on
going to come out stronger.
Yeah, Montreal just passed on that. Like
they did. I mean, and they went for Zurovsky because again, they were looking at having yet, probably again, they're looking at Demidov and having another young countryman who's also has an equal offensive bend of his game, but they have to get to that point too, Montreal. I mean, they were able to make the postseason, and they're thinking maybe they're doing what the Buffalo Sabres were thinking they were trying to do.
Gastron's going to be in the NHL.
Really lean into the offense.
In a year or two, Gastron will be in the NHL. Probably 2 years.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if that happens.
So again, if Canadiens fans are wondering, these are the things that happen sometimes. But that's it. That's it for Off the Post. We'll catch everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.